alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
Go to the church,
Tawali man, what's up?
Man, can you imagine people just dump everywhere? Someone drinks water and throws the bottle wherever.
Come on, Rogers. What else do you expect people to do with an empty bottle?
Simanye now, do you know that plastics take at least 450 years to decompose?
What? That's a long time.
Exactly. Because plastics are made out of a lightweight and flexible material that doesn't decompose easily. And plastics everywhere in the environment cause plastic pollution.
What is plastic pollution now?
It is the accumulation of plastic waste in the environment, like bottles, polythene bags, straws. All of these contribute to plastic pollution.
I have been using them without knowing their effect.
Yeah, a lot of people have. Plastics are a danger to the ecosystem, both on land and in water.
So how can we overcome this problem? Is there something we can do?
Oh yes, we can reduce by minimizing the use of plastics, reuse by repurposing them, or recycle by collecting and processing them into new products.
Everyone wants to change the world, but no one wants to change themselves for the world.
How about we change our habits for the world?
And it starts with me and you.
This message is brought to you by Alternative Digitalk. The Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
A very, very good morning, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. You're welcome to today's edition of The Hotline. My name is Roger Studiabwe, and it's a great privilege this evening to be here. Apologies, there are going to be a little bit of hiccups. I have some dry throat, but you're welcome. My name is Roger Studiabwe yet again. I send, of course, apologies from my comrade, Abdallah Tif, who you're used to being here every Monday evening. I'm still here today, but he will be coming the subsequent shows. I have amazing panelists today. I have Honorable Joseph that we have always had every Monday. We have also Odaka, who has appeared here more than once before. And we're going to be looking at most of the things that are happening, that are current affairs that has happened mostly in the last week. So we want to make sense of a number of them. We'll look at the situation that is in Kasese, try to make sense of what is going on. We are a country that has always been said to be the superpower as far as military and security is concerned in the East African region. How does that hold? Where do we stand with that? So we want to look a bit about that. Sorry. We'll also look at the national budget, how it stands, the priorities, and the direction. What does it inform how our next financial year is going to be, to try to break down a bit of some of the things that were made priorities and see if that is what we actually needed as priorities. But yes, and then we'll look, we had the thing about the U.S. travel advisory. Remember the U.S. Embassy issuing the Uganda travel advisory, telling its citizens that if they would rather not, that they would rather not travel to Uganda because of crime, because of terrorism, because of course, LGBTQ law, and all of that. So we're going to be looking at a number of that. Of course, I want to begin with the apology for starting a bit late. You know, technology sometimes gets out of hand, but we try to manage here and there, so we make it a point to be here. But we apologize nonetheless for coming late. So I'm going to give a minute to each of our panelists today to just say hello to you, and then we'll start right at it. I'll begin with Mr. Douglas.
Oh, okay. I'm the guest. I want to, first of all, greet my big brother. Greet you, my friend, my young brother.
Yes.
And all of you, this media house, and then our viewers. I bring you greetings from the National Economic Empowerment Dialogue and the entire membership. It's always a pleasure being here.
Okay, thank you so much for coming back after a while.
Yeah.
You had disappeared for some time. Now that you come from the National Economic Empowerment
yes.
Dialogue, we want to understand your perspective on what the budget is, and what do you advise as a party that capitalizes on economics and economic development?
Sure.
What do you think should be the priorities? Sir?
Yeah, it's good evening indeed. It's a pleasure to be here. I thank you very much for having me always, and I thank you very much for your continued patience with me. I believe this is a great platform. I think it's a platform that should attract every Ugandan citizen, and indeed every citizen of this continent, and every other decent citizen of the world who wants to know where Uganda is and how Uganda is having conversations and how Uganda is trying to seek to find an alternative way of going beyond the lowest of the poor, HIPIC nation states to middle income states, to really becoming part of the major global economies, and to do so in a manner in which there is freedom, in a manner in which people go to school, in a manner in which people are able to go to work and find jobs, and in a manner in which people are able to have divergent views and opinions, and in which people are able to quarrel without boxing each other, and in which whatever happens, there is no space and justification for anybody to end anybody's life. And for that, I take this opportunity to convey my condolences to all the families of those who've been very sadly killed in Kasese. I take strong exception because it's 40 years of NRA being guaranteed allegedly security, and it's extraordinary how it happened.
And we'll try to make a little bit of sense about that. What does that mean for us? A country that has missions in a neighboring country, keeping peace and security in a neighboring country, that this has to happen in our own motherland. So it leaves a lot of questions. We want to make a little bit of sense about that. But I want to begin with this gentleman. And want to understand how is need going, what is going on in need, where do we stand?
Well, when you ask how is need, then it's a very general one. But, you know, we're a political party that is about, it's now 8 months old. 8 months old. But I will tell you that as of now, the reason you're even saying I have been absent from this platform is that I've been up country. Being a Secretary General of a new political party is quite, operating in this environment we're operating in is quite a very laboring task. You have to drive at night, you have to travel here, meeting here, organize here, and so on and so forth. And that's what I've been doing for the last about 2 weeks. 2 weeks I have been in part of Bunyoro. And soon, I think by Thursday, we shall be launching our regional, district, and constituency executive leadership in that part of Uganda. But we've been doing that. We do not have both the financial or logistical capability to do it at once. So we do bit by bit, surely but extremely steadily. We think that we normally copy from my brother's party sometimes, because it is one of those. I don't believe it is the best, but it is one of those that set at least a relatively good example in terms of institutionalizing. Although sometimes I want to blame my brother for leaving it, somebody hijacking and is now, he says, the person says, of course, now, like Mao, they asked Robert Mao that you are in the bus. Said, you are in the bus, and Mao said, no, I have never entered the bus. I am only in the same convoy with the bus. And he said they are in the same convoy with UPC, with NRM. But I think sometimes doing what they did, I don't want to appear like I am speaking bad against that political party because they are partner in this thing. But I'm saying that party had been built as an example of how other parties could be set up. So we are trying to build need that in the absence of UPC, I pray my brother Ochieno takes over that because I know it's capability. Maybe in the absence of UPC, somebody can refer to need and say at least there is another political party there. The problem we have had with the political parties in this country is not really institutions, but some kind of personality cult. You do not know whether in the absence of a leader of that political party can continue surviving. I do not want to have to build need from scratch to be referred to like that. We want a party that can outlive a leader. We want a party that if you want ideas on A, B, C, D, you go and read. To date, I went somewhere in Masidi and somebody was telling me that, oh, in this, you are building this, but please try going to read the common man's charter on this. You get, it strikes you as a person in that field. It strikes you. Because this is not an old person. He's a person you're rebuilding with a new party. But he says, can we pick? It can give us some ideas on how we want to approach our own. That is how parties are supposed to be. When you go to the CCM, the ANC, and so on and so forth, they give reference. Now, here we are building parties. We have now 44 parties, by the way. By next month, we shall have 44. But you cannot give reference to any. You don't want to associate with any. So, for us, need is that. And also, the other last thing we think we need to do is ours a clearly cut out ideology. Somebody can define you by what you're doing and what you're saying. Not somebody comes and tells you, what is your ideology? Then you answer, we are multi-ideological. So, so what are you saying? So what is the, you know? In other,
he's saying that they're in Chankwanzi or from Chankwanzi.
so what are you saying? Because when your child asks you, what do you believe? I believe in everything. So for us, we want to define ourselves. We want to get away from that, because I will tell you that these guys have mismanaged this country so badly that now your age and maybe my other age and so on, if you do not read, you will think that there is nothing better. I keep telling you, everybody, that this country has a self-correcting mechanism. We must build something good, because there is going to be a time, and I keep telling people, and it looks like it is soon, very soon, this country is going to need good leaders and good institutions. Because you can see if it is it needs, it's all, but there is some traffic jam, but it looks like the jam is now beginning to clear. When you see some cars beginning, it cannot climb a steep slope. Now they have to park and be absent for a few days. That means the jam is about to clear, because they are beginning to branch off. Yes.
Okay, so I wanted to begin with you specifically. Yes. With the budget. I had Mr. Ochieno last week, and he gave his projections on
Yes.
what he expected to be in the national budget that was read later on that very week.
But can I just compliment him on his introductory on the part?
That
That is a fantastic thing. As the Secretary General of a political organization is not a small thing. It's the most important administrative role in a political party. And founding a political party is also not something which is small. So best wishes to yourself. Obviously, it is true that in the unlikely event that we're not interrupted, I would have been president 3 years ago, and officially, and if I was holding Uganda House,
and maybe I would be.
It's almost unlikely that you would have been UPC, except as a tiny rebel. Yeah. So you certainly have been in UPC. But number two, until you constitute, UPC is not, maybe not the best. UPC is the best political party on the stage at the moment in town. So until you build yourself, and then we will have a competition of ideas. And trust me, you will find us, as you know, in a very civil way. We shall have a conversation. But number two, when you talk about stealing our ideas, I think you may not notice how importantly I take it. I think that is a sense of humility which is needed in politics, because Odaka has talked about it without pretense. Yeah. It's actually not stealing, it's understandable. And the way you put it across, I was just telling somebody in a previous meeting, actually the meeting before, struggling with the Kampala traffic, that ideas are not to be stalked. And if you find anybody sensible, a man or woman with knowledge, and they try to hoard them, that person lacks self-confidence, and that person almost certainly belongs to citizens of Chankwanzi. They want to hoard everything. So material is to be shared, and and leaders and sensible leaders should be enablers, and that's what leadership is all about in the broadest sense. But finally, you would not have been the first ones to steal from us. I now want to embarrass the others. It was very shocking when FDC stole our objective number one. Not only the color, that's understandable, you don't have monopoly over these colors, but they took our blue. They could have been slightly much more innovative, so they took our blue. So after taking our blue, they took our objective number one, Rogers. Can you imagine? Do you know our objective number one of UPC? It's a fantastic thing, to build the Republic of Uganda. One country, one national parliament, yeah? One peoples, and, kind of stuff. Then if this goes, our objective number one, they pick it as the objective number one. FDC, one people, and they boast, But that is fine. No, if you pick it and then you say and you share, I actually thought it was a little bit cheeky at the time. And at the time, FDC had some very fantastic, innovative guys who could have thought otherwise. So it's not the first time. I have been having conversations with my good friends, in Noop, the way they played the color thing, they played it, the red thing, and almost became like war. It did not necessarily need to go towards that. Acknowledge. Number two, you as an emergent person will just give you some free ideas, which people don't know that these colors have got meanings.
Yeah, sure.
That's so you could just have stolen red and run with it and say our red means this. So for us in UPC, just like Uganda national flag, the yellow stands for something. Although the NRA guys think the yellow means Chankwanzi and Museveni and family for life, kind of stuff. Blues. All the things stand for particular things, and I don't want to go into it. But ours is very specific. So no, it's absolutely fine. It would not be new. But also then, politics of the future will be politics of ideas embedded around ideologies and sets of values. And political parties in one same country will have related sets of values. And sometimes they will compete and they'll rub with one another. Yes. And how that is done, I don't want to give you guys free information and free lecture, but it's a matter for you guys. So it is actually possible that a political party that shares values with another come out and have a conversation around taxation, a conversation around agriculture, a conversation around the broader national economy, or perhaps in foreign policy, which they share. And that is possibly not a bad thing. It's up to you how you articulate it, how the other side articulate it, how you persuade the citizenry, and how then they decide which one of you to go with. And in many cases, in a democracy that by the time I retire, will be there, with the UPC then, which will possibly be in government and fading towards waiting for the other alternative government, it will be a time in which maybe you can have coalition governments, and when you have elements of hung parliament, you begin to have a conversation with whom can we form a government. There may be a big, disagreement, national disagreement, that UPC, like for instance, a party that does not believe in beating and whipping people and breaking people's necks, that no, our view on Kasese is that this should be approached, or perhaps our defense spending, and I know we're going to have that conversation, yes. Our defense spending should be no less than 3%. And out of that conversation, you reach an impasse with the NRA people who basically believe in defense and stealing, and then you say, no, let's get guys in need. We share a sense of values. We think that 3 members of parliament can give us the jump over to cross over for the overall majority that we need in the National Assembly. That is what democracy is all about. I hope that's where we'll be going.
Now, Mr. Ochieno, you spoke about the spending, security spending particularly. I want to highlight this. The priorities for the financial year 2023-2024. One is effective implementation of PDM. Yeah. 2 is upgrading transport infrastructure with major focus on roads and railway. 3 is promoting small-scale solar power derogation. Now that is, I think, as far as agriculture is concerned. 4 is science-based research and development. 5 is infrastructure in industrial parks. And then investing in oil and gas sector. Then tourism promotion and development, ICT, human capital development, collecting more revenue. And all the last part is, all the above will be anchored on continued investment in security. Yes. Now, you did highlight that our security spending should be at least 3% of the overall budget. But we have, literally, they say that every other priority that is happening there is going to be anchored on the security as it stands. And now, in light of the current events, what does our spending, particularly security spending, say about the projection it makes for the security of our country?
I used 3% not as a panacea, nor was it as a matter of fact and policy, but just as an example. But I can actually tell you in the broad scheme of things nationally, perhaps if you consider how much goes to agriculture, in the last 40 years of NRA, how much in percentage terms spends has gone to agriculture, how much spends has gone to education, how much spends has gone to health. Just those 3 critical areas of our livelihoods. You know, forget about infrastructure in the last 10 years, where NRA found ways of taking some money from China and then sharing it with the road builders that never build except cow dung. You know? So you'll realize that no, if agricultural spend is 3.5, there's no reason why security is. And if it's security, is it cumulative? What is it that we are building every year? You know, tanks, what tanks and what equipment? And on a serious note, if you're talking security, Mr. Museveni has got some serious questions to answer. That if he's been spending our money in the last 40 years on so-called Nyongo security and telling Ugandans that part of the other things that they were trying to do, remember he even said that he wanted to professionalize the army before he goes to Rwakitura. Now, so we don't know when that session phase is going to end, because since he's still around, that means the army has not been professionalized. So he can't have it both ways. So how long is it going to take? So we're going to live on guaranteeing security until what? Until Museveni reaches Abraham's age, you know, and then what? So no, it's neither here nor there. No, seriously, Ugandans need to wake up. You don't build economic stability. You don't build nation states through building armies. Those are kingdoms. You know, Buganda did, and is had issues with Bunyoro. Is neither here nor there. I don't want to go there. If Mr. Museveni wants to build a monarchy, let him just go ahead and start a Rwakitura dynasty, you know, and then surround himself. He's very lucky. The only family in Uganda's history that has got 3 generals. So they can just, start a family with a big farm, you know, a bit of cattle there. They can even spare them some from Teso, give them so much more cows. Then they've got a kingdom of family of cows and dungs and yes. Yeah, and then they can build their defenses. You know, no. The Republic of Uganda's future is going to be dependent on our continued ability to defend, to feed ourselves. We are extremely lucky that we are a country absolutely blessed by our location in the equator, 2 seasons, extremely unusual. Make a journey across Busia, just cross like my brother's man would do, just cross to Busia and leave the customs and go 1 kilometer, and then the land terrain is completely different, as if Ubana Jesus is simply saying that is Uganda. You just see, just after crossing, and 2 nations, almost,
you don't even need, for example, in Malaba, you don't even need to cross. Just stand at the no man's land, look this side and look this side. Yes.
It is absolutely extraordinary. So this country is substantially blessed. So all we need to do is to continue enabling our farmers. Just enable them. Just continue to enable our farmers. Relatively cheap, but doable. You know, I was stuck at Kampala. I left my car somewhere, and John Babiha, you know Akasha Avenue, John Babiha, that was our guy, UPC guy, So yes, that was our last vice president, Minister of Agriculture. We revolutionized agriculture in this country. So we did this. So that's what I need to do. I'm not taking it too far, this. The future of this country needs a guarantee for our health. It will need to be a revolution in terms of our health service. It's going to be a revolution. I don't want to go there yet. But number two, the most common sense, basic one is education. You know, so we need to educate our population. We need to skill them. We need to give quality, and it is through education, through skilling, through enabling, through guaranteeing for job, through creating an enabling environment in which there is fairness and justice, in which a child from Karamoja, including the ones I always pass by on my way here, have possibilities, same possibilities as Odaka's children, in which a situation from young kids from Kasese, including those other mean-looking ones after the attack in Kasese, know that they've got a possibility that they go from there, they will go for Butobero College in Kigezi, and they will come to Anyange, and they'll come to Makerere, and they'll compete with you and compete with the other children. That really is the only security guarantee that we require. Anything else, we are saying that we are a police state, we are permanently threatening Rwanda, and we are permanently at a threat by Sudan. It's not. So no, nation building, and I see some NRA guys, of course many NRA guys are my friends, you know, and you go into social media these days. So they tend to suggest you talk, oh, American budget is the biggest. Are we a colonial power? Are we seeking to become a colonial power? No. What they don't tell you, that America is not necessarily the happiest country. You know, Switzerland, until the other day, they didn't have an army. Norway, amongst the happiest places. I'll be going there for a holiday and a rest with my fantastic young family down there. Some of my blood are there, my grandchildren are there, and they're doing very well with my other families. You know, these are countries that invest in their people. In Norway, this is official. From about this July, there is going to be free travel, free train travel, free public transport, meaning free trains and buses, free. So when the Ochienos talk about the Uganda railways that NRA has killed, Uganda transport bus companies that NRA has killed, Uganda Airways that NRA has killed, even our road network going to Zambia that NRA has killed, that's what we're talking about. So, no, that is the security investment. And then in Norway, you leave your door open, or you can easily leave your door open, because nobody's going to come and steal. You know, my relatives, young relatives from school, from one part equivalent of Kampala to the other end, which is almost now towards Nakasongola, for argument's sake, children go down there and they walk, and you're not bothered where they are. Here in the funny NRA environment created now, every corner has got a gate. Even I now have a gate.
The Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
Go to the church, though.
Tawali man, what's up?
Man, can you imagine people just dump everywhere? Someone drinks water and throws the bottle wherever.
Come on, Rogers. What else do you expect people to do with an empty bottle?
Simanye now, recorder. Do you know that plastics take at least 400?
The Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize yet again for that hiccup. You know, living in this country, there are things that become normal over time when they shouldn't be. And these are some of the things. So every time they kick us out, we keep coming back. but we won't relent nevertheless. So before we were cut off, it was actually power. It was a power shutdown. Mr. Ochieno was giving us a perspective about the priorities of agriculture, of education, of health, as should be the areas that we should be focusing on. And that came from a position of our spending. He did just hint on like 3% of the budget going to security spending. And he was giving a perspective of that. And I wanted to get the opinion of Mr. Odaka.
Let me wrap it up for you, if you don't mind. And let me wrap it for you, and for a reason. That all I'm saying is that for a country like this, particularly a post-conflict country like Uganda, our priorities should be in peace and justice as the basis for our security. So we should be equipping our police services, we should be equipping the judiciary, we should be enabling a free and open body politic, but most importantly, we should actually be investing in the communities that emerged out of conflicts. We should be investing in Luweero and not making sure that the leader of opposition goes to Luweero and finds 300 kids in a school classroom built by UPC, but no facilities. The things that has actually happened in Kasese, which is a security thing, that in many cases, some of those will be grievances, in many cases will just be young guys out of school and without hope. But we should also be investing in northern Uganda, post-conflict areas in Lango, in Acholi, particularly in Karamoja, in Teso, and including our Tororo. Odaka and I, we boast that we are guys from Tororo, that we're big guys, but no, we just about bribed Acholi. Otherwise, Acholi, Lango, Acholi and Karamoja and us Bukedi, we are the top 3 net producers of poverty. So we're saying that in priorities for the budget, beyond those, what I know that these NRA guys have done is this continued putting a big pot of money for defense and president's office is something that should come to an end. And I think Uganda needs to begin to talk slightly much more about it. And that although we are now beginning to talk about infrastructure in the last 20 or so years, that is fair enough. It's happening, but with a huge amount of incompetence, we cannot go down there. I'm also saying that, well, the review should be that focus should be on corruption, but above all, don't forget there is 18 trillion of the 52 trillion budget, 18 trillion is going to debt servicing.
Exactly.
Now, I've been asking that debt servicing, what did we borrow for? What is the evidence in Tororo that in the last 20 years, this is what your money has gone for, which the debt you're paying back?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
that's right. Now, Mr. Odaka, again, in light of that, the fact that you come from a party that is highly economical or dependent on economics and all of that, your ideology, I think, is economic empowerment, as it says. What do you make of our current budget as it stands, in consideration of the priorities as it is, and what you think should be the focus areas if we are looking at a development and growth agenda moving forward?
Thank you, but I will tell you, let me first try to correct my brother. Number one, I do not think we are a post-conflict country.
Okay.
We seem to have been in a conflict, and it looks like we are commencing another phase of a big conflict. In other words, we are a country with a lot of uncertainty. Nobody can tell the future of this country with certainty. That's one. Number two, the issue you're asking me is that for anybody to talk about this budget and the priority areas, because I think the only interaction between an ordinary man and this budget is when he's paying taxes. Looking at the entire budget, there is nothing. The only interaction, the only relationship between me or you or anybody else and this budget is paying taxes, squeezing you properly to get the taxes. For me, I keep telling my friends, especially those members of parliament, first of all, is that I think even our budgeting process is also flawed. It is also not nice, because you cannot begin budgeting for this year before auditing the previous budget. Let me give you an example. You remember when this is in history, this is the first budget framework that was presented 3 times. And you know why it was being presented 3 times? Is that each time they presented it, they would realize that there are areas they have not financed. And then they simply include that particular area and then provide for it a budget without a correlating revenue from where that money is, where that particular area. 3 times they were fidgeting with it. You remember the first time it was 48, 48 trillion, then it became to 49, then it became to 52. You can't know. Secondly, we are talking about 52 trillion as projected. First of all, we do not have, in statistics, they call it integrity of data with these guys. In the last budget, URA was given a task to collect up to about 27 trillion. And up to now, they are lingering around between 24 point something trillion to 25 trillion. That's from them. You know, for me, I have never learned to believe what my brother called NRA. You know, there is, from where my mother comes from, they say everything that has a long tail is everything born of a snake has a long tail. Yes. So if they can lie to you on, and anybody who will tell you a lie on small things will tell you a lie on big things. Yes. And you could clearly tell from even Mr. Museveni's own, when he was making a presentation, he was clearly, you would see that when he was reading, he was even saying, I am this figure, and if it is true. You saw it, yeah, and he said that many times. So what reason do you give me to first of all believe that as a statistician? So I don't even have to believe it. So it is as if he's also guessing, he's doubting, he's not sure himself. Yes. The chief minister of finance, the president, is saying if it is true. You get it? So that is, but you see, when you go to the nitty-gritty, today, part of the areas that we seem to be pumping a lot of money is what they're calling PDM. Okay, security. Yes. You know, security.
Was the first priority, in fact.
Yes, PDM.
Yes.
And I keep thinking that how do these guys think? Now, these guys came and killed these of Joseph is what they call cooperatives. And you know, cooperative concept, there should be some converging interest around which people are cooperating. You know, now when you bring money, and cooperative cannot be a concept where there is money which is coming outside the interest around which people are cooperating, and you put there and you think it will hold people together. It is. So you get money, 100 million, you put it in a parish, there is no interest around which people are cooperating, there is no livelihood, you are not developing any enterprise that maybe people are going to borrow that money and then put in a certain enterprise that you are assisting. People are simple. Let me tell you, this money, and we've told you as need that this money is to make people poorer. Let me give you an example. Somebody comes and borrows this money, goes, puts it somewhere. You see what the other DCs have been doing from the youth livelihood, women fund, this and so on. After the money gets lost, so they come and arrest that person. Yes. He gets part of the land, he sells the land, then he pays the money. You get it? and I will tell you, I know a number to whom that happened. Even in Tororo, I know a number of them. Tell me, so have you brought this money to fight poverty or to increase poverty? And because they make you sell this land when you are even still in sales. They force you. It is as if it is intentional. And so
has that happened to Tororo?
Yes,
already.
I know 3 families. I know 3.
It's important for me.
Personally, know 3. So if it is happening in Tororo, where the PDM in some, and yet you see, They said it is 100 million, and yet there are parishes that have not got anything up to date. Those that the last time they said they were going to get, is it 30 million? Some got 2 million shillings. So, in other words, Mr. Museveni every day is thinking of how he can, a ground which he can create for his greedy people to steal from. So this PDM thing,
while keeping the rest of Ugandans busy scrambling amongst themselves.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So that is the intention of this PDM. PDM will keep people busy. They will put a lot of money there. They will themselves get the money to finance whatever project, finance their bad health condition, that a very expensive one that they have created for themselves. So, let me tell you, there are countries that want to develop, do sensible things. When these Ochenos were in power, countries like Dubai, I wasn't born that time, were poor countries that I'm told this country, even I mean that we think was a buffoon was giving Dubai. Them, yeah. But you see, when they decided that they wanted to develop, you know what? There is what they called, for them their concept was about 3 T's. Tourism, trade, and transport. They decided that most of the biggest chunk of our budget, we shall put it there. See, that's why they have the Qatar Airways. You know, when you go tourism, people simply go that to spend money. Today they are there. This country, I keep telling people that this country is very easy to manage if you wanted to manage. This country is extremely rich. We talk about agriculture, and when Museveni wants to, and this government wants to lie to us about the agriculture, they lie to you and they do not, they do operation wealth creation, they put now PDM and so on. Let me tell you. You see, and I can give you region per region. If you wanted to develop this country through agriculture, now, let me tell you our own from the need point of view. When you go to Toro, those guys, of course, they used to have their own kind of crops that used to be cash crop. Today, if you asked, you know, for us, when we were in primary school, there would even be a question and say, what is Uganda's cash crop? And you know, you would say cotton, you would say coffee. Yes. Today, if you ask any child, what is Ugandan cash crop? Even me, I do not know. Even me, I don't know. But you see, when you go to Toro, in Toro, today they have been convinced to have tea as their cash crop. Tea, dry tea leaves, dry tea in Toro region, it is at 1,200 to 1,700 shillings a kilogram. You get it? Crossing it from there to Mombasa, it is at 5,200 in Mombasa. No, you don't add any value, you don't do anything. It is simply buying in bulk and transporting it to Mombasa. Now, what these people in government did was to create some kind of monopoly. That they are the only ones who buy, and you don't sell the tea leaves unless they've given you a license. Now, anybody who wants to promote the citizens through agriculture does not do that. Because even the monopolists, they gave the license in Toro, for example, are even Indians. Of course, we know they are agents. Now, when you go to, for example, Teso, we all know what used to be Teso's economy. Today, they convinced them to transform from what they used to do up to today, oranges. They told them plant oranges. We are even going to give you a juice making factory. Now, when these people's orange came to harvest, time of harvesting, you know what they told them? They told them, you people planted oranges which are hard to squeeze. So we cannot, they are hard, it can't go through the machine. So the oranges in Teso can't be sold anywhere. Those people cut down everything, they planted oranges. Now, let me tell you, you see in Uganda here, we used to have the time when one would build a house through agriculture. I'm talking about agriculture. If you wanted to prioritize even agriculture alone, that my brother Ochieno, they used to tell us that you would see somebody driving a good car, and in Uganda would say, they would not call that a car, they would call it Mwanyi Zavala. You ask those who have been here.
I've heard that around.
Yes, Mwanyizabala. Now they told them plant coffee. They cut down the coffee and they had coffee, cut down the coffee and do, they call moringa. You ask people who suffered with moringa under this same government. People planted moringa. Before moringa was of age, they said, let me just finish this story, my friend, because it is important. Okay. They told them, okay, moringa has lost market. Please cut down moringa and you plant vanilla. They planted vanilla. A kilogram of vanilla was at 200,000. When vanilla was of whatever to harvest, they told them vanilla is now 6,000. Cut down vanilla, come we train you how to rear rabbits. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? From coffee, moringa, rabbit, then after rabbit.
I nearly planted moringa. I was looking for land. I nearly negotiated with you.
You almost got duped.
I nearly got duped from moringa, man.
So when you want to do agriculture, first of all, you get a focus. Because it cannot, we can't get lost in these things like this. So your budget reflects what you want. Let me tell you, a government that is, this government is talking about technology, for example.
We don't have so much time. I want you to zero down on what can be the working priorities moving forward. Because I want us to also
but you see, you can't talk about the priorities before you unpack the lies in that budget. We are being told that Mr. Museveni, who is talking about science and now technology is the way to go. Do you know the entire budget of Makerere University is 131 billion? That Makerere, with all the research, with everything. But the budget for President Museveni for donation alone is 150 plus billion. Now, if we want to talk about this budget, let us first of all forget and unpack the lies in it. Then we recognize that these countries develop through, for example, what is our comparative advantage? Now, once we have identified our comparative advantage, then we put money there. We all know that our comparative advantage has always been in agriculture. I was reading some paper about when the UPC was in government and how they ended up, because it kept on bothering me. How could a government that had just emerged from colonialism afford to construct all these nice hospitals, nice schools, and provide them for free? And all it is zeroed down to this kind of thing. They are sugar deal, find the market, do cooperative, get the money, and then you do all these things. So these things are doable. Our government, or this government, first of all, let's allow me say now we should simply say, you know, there was a time, every time you'd watch TV, if anybody was talking about a problem, we would talk about government to Yambe. I am happy today nobody talks about government to Yambe, because we have all come to reality and to terms that this government not help. So we now make a proposal. Like you see, this man is asking a question. What is workable? What can we do? And for me, once we get to that level, that means we have realized the direction we want to go. Number one, you see, agriculture is where we should put our money. Yeah. The issue of security, I will tell you, if it has always been a permit card for this government to be around, the evidence is there that it is no longer there. That was also been a lie. Security, there is what they call security and defense. They confuse the two even when they are generals. Security cannot be kept with guns. Security is kept, let me tell you. If you, the other day,
we are going to move into the security part.
No. But the other day, Ubos's own report stated that where me and Ochieno comes from, which is Bukedi, that the unemployment rate is the highest in the country at 40%. Every 4 people you find in Bukedi, every 10 people, 4 of them are unemployed. They don't even have. That is how bad it is. So, and yet every day you're hearing government launching industrial parks. You get it? So who owns this industrial park? Who owns these industrial parks? Let me tell you, getting back to the agriculture, when these, 1986, when this government came to power, our coffee export was about, is it $7-something million. Today it is times 4 like this, times 4. My question is, if the other one, which was just $7-something million, and today it is times 4, the other one, which was little, you would see the evidence, and so is a tycoon, so and so is a tycoon out of coffee, out of coffee, out of coffee. Today is times 4. You cannot show me any tycoon in town
Was made of
who has made through coffee. So who is taking this big chunk, which yet the small one, you would see the evidence?
I was speaking to some relatively senior citizen in Kawali, and he said that the biggest problem that has faced agriculture has been that we practice the one shoe fits all kind of thing. That if it is, for example, coffee, it should be working in Uganda, it should be Uganda as cash crop. That could be true, but for particular regions, not necessarily that's going to be across Uganda. So I do agree on agriculture, that you actually both agree, because I feel like the biggest part, apart from of course crippling all of those societies and killing the market, it is that we've wanted to do one thing for the country, which may not necessarily work for us. But moving forward, if we agree, we have agriculture, we have education, we have health, and obviously infrastructure, because access is necessary to make all of things happen. Does it seem feasible that any of that is going to be achieved in the short run for a better Uganda? And I want us to use a few minutes to move away from that topic.
There is nothing miraculously going to change in this country unless and until Mr. Museveni retires. There may be a slight possibility that Mr. Museveni retires, somebody in NRA comes to fumble, again like Mr. Museveni has fumbled. That in itself, by the way, is change. Not the real change this country wants. Meaning that there is just a hope, possibility, a sense of possible freshness. I'm talking purely theoretical. But if you want me to talk as a matter of fact, this country is not going to go anywhere under Museveni and NRA. Meaning Museveni and NRA have been given 40 years, his age. 40 years is an extremely long time. 20 of that completely uninterrupted. The last 20 has been interrupted by force, at the steering wheel. So there is nothing that these guys can do tomorrow that they've not had an opportunity to attempt to do, and to do so freely. I must say, actually, discussing the budget thing and part of what Odaka is talking about in terms of the revenues that were at the disposal of the first UPC government and the second UPC government. Under NRA, under Museveni as the Anglo-American agent, this country has received huge amount of goodwill from the West in excess amounts. I was head of the UPC External Bureau in UK, based in UK, and yes, I know. The British, the Americans, and they should be ashamed once in a while. Of course, they are friends, they gave Museveni blanket checks. In fact, Museveni is their spoiled boy. Blanket checks. So Uganda has received grants, free money, free goodwill, free PR, huge amount in the last 40 years. Betty Kamia, my good sister-in-law, about 15 or so years ago, I think 12, wrote a very interesting piece. I need to look for it. Sister Betty, Betty wrote an interesting piece about how much money, in terms of grants, has been given to Uganda. I got it, I don't know whether I locked it somewhere. Very impressive figures. I don't have it off head. Huge amount of money that if you consider, and that is about, that was the 30th, before the 30th year of NRA. Huge. So there is nothing these guys have not had a chance to do. And partly as Mr. Odaka suggests, The first UPC government was 8 years. You know, building the railway line from Soroti to Lira to Gulu to Pakwach, I normally say 8 years. Turns out the railway line was commissioned in 1966, so the line was extended within 4.5 years. You know? So many of these other projections were actually done, meaning by 1970, most of these things had been done hugely. In Obote too, amidst the war in Yoweri, amidst the rehabilitation of Uganda post Idi Amin, amidst the Museveni throwing bombs around Kampala, you know, 4.5 years, huge amount of rehabilitation that took place in industry, in agriculture, in every sector, including education and industry, and in health and in industry. Guess what? Returning the trains and things like that. We opened up secondary schools in every sub-county that mattered across the country. These are the schools that these guys have sunk. So I don't know anything that can happen under NRA. What I really would like to beg Mr. Museveni, I'm sorry I'm disappointing you about the response, is Mr. Museveni needs to love this country enough and review his gods. I am told he's a very religious guy. And simply say that, well, thank you, Jesus. Thank you, the Republic of Uganda. Thank you, fellow citizens.
His former, sorry to interject, but his former spokesperson said, Tamale Mirundi, that if he went to heaven and they called him on the table and he found the people he left in the State House and they told him they are in heaven because they also saved he would reject because he would say this is another version of Christianity. He's a former spokesperson.
No, there you go.
Let's conclude that.
So really, no, I think the future of this country can only be guaranteed with fresh sets of ideas. Fresh sets of ideas, fresh sets of leadership, a new direction, new energy, and a genuine new mandate from the people of the Republic of Uganda. And that leadership, I hope, is a leadership that is going to be tolerant enough to be able to accommodate all Ugandans, including NR people.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
There's nothing magic about it.
I want to move a little bit from that.
Yeah.
Not so distant though. Still about security.
Yeah.
Now you know the events that have been unfolding in Kasese.
Yeah.
And you know, amidst all of this situation, like I said when we were starting, we always brag about the security, being the security superpowers in the region, in East Africa as a whole community. Where we stand with our forces in most of the other countries, is it still relevant that we still have our armies across the borders?
We are possibly too stretched. That's the answer. No, we shouldn't. And as I said, as a matter of UPC position, policy position, we shouldn't have our armies anywhere, including in Congo. You know, we shouldn't have our forces anywhere. There is no evidence, and there is no justification, and we haven't been convinced. And it's not about UPC. I'm talking about the people of this country. The 18 trillion shillings are wasted monies that Mr. Museveni wastes and enjoys. You know, meaning if we are to be accountable to our people, every son and daughter of this republic that is instructed to go to Congo, is instructed to go to South Sudan, is instructed to go to Central African Republic, is instructed to go to Somalia, wherever else, is a burden of responsibility for whoever it is. So, no, these guys are there predominantly on expeditions, journeys on behalf of Mr. Museveni. Mr. Museveni's interest and the interest of the people, the powers that be, that for whom Mr. Museveni is a nyampala, nothing else. Actually, our citizens away abroad in the forces should return to Uganda urgently. The monies we are spending on them should be invested. Odaka is a witness. Look at Rubongi military barracks. Rubongi army barracks is like a pit latrine in the extreme of a slum. You know? Yep. That's Rubongi army barracks. Now, this is where our citizens live. You know, it's unacceptable. Look at police barracks here, merely in Nakuru, just in the outskirts of police headquarters. So these guys live in shambolic state. We should be training these guys. We should be equipping them for national defense. But in terms of the police, who are basically the builders of law and order, we should be remunerating them well. We should be making sure that we house them well. We should be making sure that their health, welfare, and terms and conditions are decent enough. That's where we should be investing our money. As far as these things happening outside the borders of Uganda, a UPC government would make sure that we urgently withdraw the boys and girls of ours and brought them back home here. I don't know that Uganda is under any imminent threat, by any of our neighboring countries. Absolutely not. I know we sent funny guys to Congo. They went ahead and looted their gold like nothing. And I know many of them think Congolese will come ahead and attack us, maybe to claim back their gold. But I think the Congolese are only interested in building their countries. We should be helping them peacefully to rebuild their country rather than actually continue to become part of the extended security problems. And if I may say so, I didn't want to miss this. You said much earlier on air that you're a bit weather beaten. Quite clearly, yes, you are. And I just want to use you as an example, as a young, handsome, 20-something-year-old man, that there's no guarantee that tomorrow you feel unwell, you just walk out to the next health facility and you get treatment. You can't do that. For you, you even didn't know that that was a matter of basic right for you to walk to the next health facility. You'll have to think about whatever's in your pocket, what is in the pocket of your parents. It's completely unacceptable. This happened in my lifetime. I walked to a local health facility. I walked to a local school, and I keep on saying I was paid to study in Makerere. There's no reason why you should not be able to get decent health care tomorrow in the morning to make sure that they checks on the cold and flu that you have, considering that you're such a fantastic anchor.
Thank you so much. Thank you, sir. Odaka, what with our health situation, where we are, where we stand, should we be giving peacekeeping mission, making peacekeeping missions out of Uganda?
Well, if we had, because the objective of, and this is in terms of if you wanted specific countries where we are now, every time our soldiers were going in those countries, there are reasons were given.
Yes.
For Congo, the first Congo War, the second Congo War, you know what we were given. And by the time we left with, after a court case.
Which we lost also.
Which we lost, and we are part of this repayment debt of so much trillion is to whatever, to pay what people who are even still alive now, some of them, stole from there. Now, they went, stole as individuals, we are now paying collectively. Even my kid who was not born by then is now paying that. Unfortunate. But you see our presence, so when we went to Somalia, we were given reasons. Until some bombs were thrown here, and so on. When we went to Central African Republic, we were also given reasons. But you see, let me repeat what I said, that everything born of a snake. So these guys, it is not easy to believe them, first of all. During the burial of Tivarondwa in Bushenyi, General Tafire, and it is on record, went and said, during his speech, he said, when we were fighting in Luwero, we would put on UPC t-shirts, go kill people, then go back. Himself, he said, the clips are still there even on YouTube to date. We would go put on UPC t-shirts, go in the village, kill people, then go back later on in our uniform as saviors. Now, in Arabic, Arabs have a saying that one time, they have a short story. At one time, these people they were two friends. This friend was going somewhere, and therefore he had bought some of his some cement and said, Joseph, please keep for me this cement. Then after some time, when Odaka came and asked Ochieno for his cement, said, sorry, my brother, you know, some eagles came and carried this cement. And said, are there eagles who can carry a bag of cement? Said, fine. So after some time, Ochieno forgot somehow. Then he also came and told Odaka, please, I have some metal bars, keep for me. I will come and pick after 2 weeks. So when he also came, I told him, you know what? We had here some ants that came and ate all the metal bars. So then Odaka, then I asked, really, is it can there be ants that can eat metal, steel? And he said, man, you don't know. In a country where there are eagles that can carry a bag of cement, surely there will be ants that will eat the metal. So in a country where leaders came to power through that, so you don't know, even when such things in, me and you should have been following things, and this is unfortunate, should have been following things in the social media in reaction of Ugandan in regard to that Kasese massacre. Citizens are not even trusting the version of government.
Because there is no, I'm going to, just a little bit, I want to, it didn't make sense to me. And I wanted to also get your highlight. Because I had the first lady said that there are some
land wrangles
issues.
You get it?
And it could be the reason that fueled that. So this one of the sides could have used the ADF.
Yes, that's one. You see,
and then there's this whole commonly believed thing that this is ADF.
ADF.
So what do we believe as
and you see, that is just the part of the story you're talking about. You know, immediately UPDF issued a statement that ADF. Now, first of all, in Congo, just about 2-3 months ago, the president of Congo issued a statement and is now saying Rwanda and Uganda must leave their country.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, in that eastern Congo itself, we have so many rebel groupings. Now, how the investigation quickly zeroed down on ADF beats my mind. Because the moment the news came, they said ADF. So how the investigation detected that these were ADF, investigation that could not detect that there's some, you know, queer movement of people we suspect. Let me tell you, that same place where school, I know Wera very much. I know quite well. I was there about 3 weeks ago because of my work, party work I'm doing. That school is about precisely 500 to 800 meters from the police station.
Yeah.
It is also 1.5 kilometers from a properly fortified, precisely 1.5 kilometers. It is actually less than 1 kilometer from the Mpondwe Police Divisional Headquarters. And you see, from Queen Elizabeth Park, where you branch off to go to Mpondwe itself, there are 8 army roadblocks. 8. If you look at the Mpondwe, around the town itself, I'm telling you, there are more soldiers than civilians. I was there. You would really see that there are more soldiers. I am telling you now, me who was there, about 3 people asked me to bring my kitambulisho. You see, they just see who you are. They say, please come. Now, all those failing to detect, and they told us that those people had been there for 8 days. 8 days. You even know how many days they had been there, but you could not detect them. So the surrounding of the security installation I've mentioned. So people come, they spend there 2 hours, but UPDF also spends 2 hours. The first UPDF to arrive at the crime of scene was 2 hours
later.
Yeah, 2 hours later. This is, I am speaking from the official source, because that's what, now the other DC communicated and so on. Because after the communication, 2 hours later, we have MiGs that we spent tax, we raided Bank of Uganda to buy. Those Sukhoi MiGs to whatever from their base here in Entebbe to that place takes maximum of 20 minutes. We wouldn't utilize all those advantages against this. Me, I come from Kisoko, but I grew up around Achilete. That's near Rubongi Barracks.
Yeah.
Now, what we are used to, people who grew up near barracks, is about 3 kilometers, all of it, they are always under surveillance. 3 kilometers. I learned that from Rubongi. 3 kilometers, you are under. Even families around there, I am telling you, it is very rare to find you have no informer for the barracks, just to secure the barracks. Now, I am wondering, with all these, just the other side of Congo, you know, we are spending 7.2 billion on the soldiers we took there under the Operation Shuja. 7.2 billion. So why are Ugandans spending 7+ billion shillings to maintain soldiers on the side of Congo, allegedly taken there to fight and defeat ADF, yet ADF can come and kill and murder innocent children? That is if they are ADF I want to maintain. That is if they are ADF. Because in a country where there are termites that can eat metal bars, there surely will be eagles that can carry cement. You see, let me tell you, these soldiers, the other day there was a clip going around. I don't know whether you know a bit of French. There was a video going around when the Congolese, you know, now it's official in Congo, they teach children. They are like Israel and Palestine, where children are indoctrinated and told from childhood who your enemies are. And the teacher was asking a child, who are our enemies in French? And the children were saying, Uganda and Rwanda. Who are our friends? And they were mentioning Angola, they were mentioning Sudan, and they were mentioning the other, and so on and so forth. So officially, Congo is our enemy from that, if you want to take that as a basis. So, and it is not that they have not invaded us, they have not done that. You would understandably look at their side of the story as well. So I will tell you that what happened in Kasese vis-a-vis the security of this country and the budget, what is in the budget, if you want to look at it from that way, we have failed on that, because less than 2 years ago, the president of this country said, we have reduced the strength of ADF so much that they have no capacity to attack Uganda. They are no longer a threat. That's the word he used. They are no longer a threat to this country. So if ADF is not a threat to this country, the president should tell us who killed the children. Kasese?
His wife, whom he instructed to go to represent him instead of the vice president or minister for defense or minister for security, and is now his wife. Granted, it's a school, it's a private school. Has told you that there is land grave. So for that matter, so therefore, the official answer is from his wife.
Yes.
What do we take therefore? What do we take?
Mr. Museveni and his family are taking this country for a ride. Ugandans just need to wake up, organize, and say no, enough is enough for Museveni, and in a decent way, no more deaths in this country, no more unnecessary hate in this country. We need to find a way in which we're able to create possibilities for Mr. Museveni to retire honorably, and for new sets of ideas to be able to take on the leadership of this country and cleanse the mess, that they'll be leaving behind, and then take this country forward. I happen to be extremely confident, partly what Mr. Odaka was saying. We picked up this country from independence and turned it around in a very short time. We picked this country after 9 years and turned it around in 3.5 years. Mr. Odaka, we managed to put from January 1981, by 1984, we had turned around Uganda's economy and had grown. We had the fast rise in standard of living, ever recorded OECD figures since 1970.
Actually, I was reading the meeting that was in Abuja in 1983. And the African OAU then was proposing that all the African countries give Uganda a certain percentage of their budget, because Uganda has shown an example that it can feed the whole of Africa. In other words, they wanted to make Uganda food basket for Africa.
This young man is such a fantastic researcher. You see the possibilities around him. So these things can be done. And a final thing I also say is that I was speaking to a senior citizen of this country in the presence of another senior citizen of this country who happens to be NRA, by the way, the other one. And we came to an agreement that this country can radically change, because they all agree that Magufuli was able to turn around Tanzania in three years, and there is no reason why we can't turn around this country in a very short time. So I'm very optimistic. My problem is young Ugandans just need to wake up and recognize that they're being taken for a ride. And my problem is how we manage to deal with the fear thing, Manas Museveni. And my guarantee is that if there is a sensible leadership in this country, there is no reason why we can't leave all of us in diversity post Museveni, including Museveni, retired you can go and retire in Chankwan's once in a while, but you can retire in Rwakatura, and there will be a possible Uganda, excellently lived, and one in which we live with all our neighbors, including Congolese. And for Congo, I take a bit of my own time to offer, to volunteer mediation efforts, something that I do and I've always been doing for the last 10, 15 years. I must say on air for the first time with the Congolese friends I meet abroad. By the way, yes, you're right, I had a Congolese assistant at work and elsewhere who really resented us as Ugandans until I showed him that no, we are actually fantastic citizens, and in fact that we actually are able to deploy in Congo at the time to protect them post Lumumba. So this thing is possible.
So as we conclude, because our time is literally fast spent, moving forward, you seem both to come to a common position that the problem is the current administration, as it exists, of course, because we are not very sure of when it is going to end. How do we grow? How do we do better that even when it prolongs, their departure prolongs, we have some bit of progress made? And that will be also the concluding remarks.
Okay, there are two things. Joseph mentioned a lady who is now the IGG called Betty Kamia. I also happen to have read one of the articles of Betty Kamia, and it was in one of the, and the topic was, where is Museveni's heart?
Yes.
You need to look for that.
I remember it.
You need to look for that. I don't know if that is that Betty Kamia is dead, so that you say rest in peace, or I don't know. But you know, it tells you, and you can relate it to a book called Why Nations Fail. It's related. But you see, going forward, I think, for me, I am happy that we seem to be coming to a conclusion amongst many of us that now we need to reorganize. Because for me, I'm confident, by the way, one of the reasons why I move at night, I move as if I no longer even have a family to feed, and I don't work, because I think it looks like it is now more urgent than ever before that we need to work harder, grow capacity, because we don't need this thing to fall on our heads when we are not prepared to anchor and put sanity to this country. Because it is also possible that we can wake up one day and it has crumbled. This thing is disorganized, and we end up into a Somali kind of situation if we are not prepared. So one of the best things we must do now is to constantly and tirelessly organize ourselves, because the thing is surely coming to an end. That one I have no doubt about it now. I am more sure than ever. Two, we need to look for each other as this. Need to look for each other as those who think alike. But three, like my senior brothers, please, it is not time for you to retire. These ones need, and we need even your guidance even more. Even more.
Are you not contradicting yourself?
No, I am not.
Because you're saying that the generation, the common saying has always been, the generation of Museveni still feels like we are not ready. That is why they are still around. When you say that, I'm not, this is not.
No, I get you. Yeah,
this is not to say that he's in the same age or whatever. But when you say that the people who are older, the people who are going to show us direction, doesn't that?
No. I think he's actually being very emphatic that all of us need to be there, and maybe by suggestion, when I was overemphasizing youth, he was just trying to make sure that I was not saying that you guys engage, and for me, yes, I'll be taking more milk from Rwakatura and less work. He's simply saying that all of us must continue being there as they do, and we must continue guiding you guys, for which I'm delighted.
Because his statement was as if he was passing the bat, and I was saying it is not time to pass the bat yet. Especially them, the sane ones, especially the sane ones. Because there is a practice, you know, politics can bring a lot of fatigue on you, especially this bad one. So it is convenient. Sometimes say, I have this Uganda is not my father's garden. Why am I over fighting? So, and you retire. Yeah. But I'm saying, no, you know, victory seems impossible when you are almost reaching the
destination.
You
know, in UPC, we are an idea, so we don't die. And so I get your point. No, this is going on and we are going to go on. But you're absolutely right. There are people who sometimes can frustrate situations. From where some of us are coming, you know, we love this country too much to let go. And to let go unnecessarily. It is simply that we believe in the broadness of diversity, and our emphasis tends to be very much about youth. That has been traditionally the case, and is the case with me, and it's the case that I emphasize very, very much. In fact, part of my biggest concern at the moment is that we don't have people, your groups, conscious, sufficient, trained, and equipped enough, you know, to be able to push us forward. Just as we were saying, if Museveni drops down, what happens? I'm saying, when the time the energy comes, how many of you guys around people like us? In the times of the old Miltons, most of them were. In the times of the latter part of old Milton, some of us were. To the extent that I know some people who were possibly uncomfortable, some of us were around too much. But I'm simply saying that thanks, unfortunately, negatively to Chankwanzi politics, many of you guys have had to learn the hard way, and many of you guys, even with very good hearts, have no clue what's going on in terms of what we basically need to be able to do in terms of holding responsible for this. I think I'm much more optimistic. You're right.
As you also conclude, I wanted to give that position on how do we do in the short run.
No, I think we just have to keep going. I think political parties need to continue doing internal self-reflection. In UPC's case, we have a leadership challenge. I know we've been infiltrated. And some of our leadership and some of our membership are comfortably enjoying tea in Rakatura, but deceptive tea, not open tea, and those are rather itchy. Yeah. But also on the other, some people are looking at short-termism. But UPC is not that way. So from our point of view, we know the burden of responsibility, partly as suggested, that we need to continuously provide leadership for the whole country, and example for the whole country. We will continue to be doing that. I would hope that our emerging young colleagues as Mr. Odaka emerge and become decent, constructive opponents, unlike DP at some stage when you refuse to sit with us in a cabinet that we offered you, and then it's convenient for you to go and sit with Yamin, and that we give in 1971 to 62, for example, and DP that in 1980 we say let's form a government again of national unity and work together to rebuild the country post Yamin. You refuse, and then you have one leg in parliament, another leg in the bush, leading to what happened in 1985. So I think the political opposition need to come together more. And we also need to continuously have a conversation with our friends in NRA. There's sensible guys in NRA there. Yeah, sure. Make sure that we have a continuous conversation with them and say that, well, some of these will be ideological differences. In some cases, may be a difference of strategy. Some of them, we appreciate some of you guys are conveniently there. Carry on with your camp, or else we shall continue with the call. But the bottom line is that when we come together in the name of the Republic of Uganda, it's not negotiable. Because don't forget, you guys, I am absolutely fantastically clear. I've got young grandchildren, I've got young children, and they're all doing absolutely fine. But whether you like it or not, my sharp citizens in UPC will meet up with your children, whether you like or not, in 10, 15 years' time. And remember, it will be in some Republic of Uganda. It does not matter how much you loot from Congo, how much you shortcut us. No. 10, 15, but definitely in 20 years' time, it will absolutely be a draw. So the sooner you come and we sort out this mess together, the better for all of us.
Thank you so much. I do not, excuse me, I do not think I have anything useful to add on this discussion. I do appreciate the time that you have given us, and I want to obviously apologize for the breakouts that has been happening.
The breakout is NRA, don't forget.
Yeah, it has certainly shortened our time, so apologies for that. We'll try to do better next time. And to obviously our viewers for making time to be with us. I wasn't able to read the messages because I wanted them to give their opinions on these issues, because we thought they were important that we have their position. So that is what we've had for you this evening, excuse me. And I hope you do get a thing or two, and go and practice, talk about it with your friends, and share it in your circles, share opinions, and see how better you as an individual can contribute to this whole idea. Thank you so much. My name is Rogers. Have yourselves a very good night.
The Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.